before we begin, this is Editing Truth in the editing booth. Early this year, I did a recap of all the manga I read in 2022, and I had the bright idea to lighten my workload doing things like that in the future, so I decided I would do a mid-year recap. That's kind of what I recorded here, and it somehow turned out longer than a full year's recap. So instead of just one or two giant videos going forward, what we're going to have here is a whole sort of season. I'm going to have this split into 9 or 10 list-style episodes, and it's going to be My Summer of Manga 2023. See if you can figure out the original order that I talked about all of these series by spotting the various editing inconsistencies. And with that, let's go on and head into the actual manga cafe. A nice little mild recommendation that I can give is Doomsday With My Dog. I'm gonna be honest, this one caught my eye because it's got a catchy title, a cute cover, and I love dogs. One thing that I did not realize before I started reading this manga is that it's in full color, which is always a pleasant surprise. And Doomsday With My Dog, it pretty much just follows the 4-coma structure, where like it's all just 4-panel, mostly gag comics. And like the title will kind of give away, it's about a girl who is, as far as she knows, the last human on Earth, and she's just kind of wandering this post-apocalypse with her dog, and also her dog can talk. Most of the animals in this world, in fact, can talk, and she gets into a lot of, like, surprisingly deep philosophical conversations with her dog. So it's very much like a cozy apocalypse slice of life with a large side of philosophical pondering. The artist who made it described it as saying, like, I wanted to write a series where basically anything was possible. And so, you know, you've got your talking dogs, you've got aliens showing up now and then, you've got cryptids showing up now and then. And I've only read volume 1, but I think there's at least 2 volumes out in English, if I'm not mistaken. There was also a bonus story at the end of volume 1, which was one of the saddest things I think I've ever read, but it's okay because it turns out it was a dream. Or was it? Yes, it was. Or was it? So, like I said, I have broken my rule for myself and started some new series. One of those new series was Choujin X. So this is a new series by the creator of Tokyo Ghoul. I have never read Tokyo Ghoul, and I watched season 1 of Tokyo Ghoul and thought it was alright. Honestly, like, Tokyo Ghoul is one of those series that, like, on paper it sounds like it would be right up my alley. It sounds like exactly the kind of just edgelordian, super violent shit that I would love, but it's just, like, never really resonated with me. But I don't know, after reading the first couple volumes of Choujin X, I might go back one day and give Tokyo Ghoul a proper try. And if you're not familiar with Choujin X, it's basically like a superhero series, but, you know, with a darker edge to it. And, you know, there's not been, like, a whole lot of plot development within the first couple volumes, aside from, like, the main character acquires superpowers and is kind of trying to learn how to use them, and he's meeting some other characters who also have powers. Some of them want to use them for nefarious purposes, and some are pretty cool. What surprised me about this one was just how zany it would get. I was expecting it to be just like super dark and edgelordian, kind of like Tokyo Ghoul, but then Chapter 2 has this whole chase sequence where a little girl is running away from a guy, and she's on like an electric scooter, and he's in a tractor, and also there's this motorcycle gang of guys with sheep heads kind of chasing both of them, all throughout the city, and they're like, you know, flying off of ramps and like doing sick jumps and like getting into wrecks, and it was so just wacky and over the top and not at all what I was expecting, and I loved it for that. So for now, Choujin X is a pretty tentative, I will probably keep reading this. Here's an intriguing new series that I didn't even know was coming out, or even know existed. This is Demons of the Shadow Realm by none other than Hiromu Arakawa, who is best known, of course, for creating Full Metal Alchemist, the masterpiece. I know that since Full Metal Alchemist, she made Silver Spoon, which was kind of like, you know, high school, like slice of life kind of series about going to an agricultural high school, which, you know, is good from what I've read, which, you know, amounts to like 2, maybe 3 volumes. And other than that, she worked on the Heroic Legend of Arslan, which I have not read. That one I know that she was just the artist and not the writer for it, so I wasn't as eager to get into that one. But now we've got Demons of the Shadow Realm, which is another action fantasy series that she is both artist and author of. I read volume 1 of this one, and I think it is really promising. Obviously you can't say too much based on only one volume, but I for sure plan to read more of this one, and I would encourage everybody else to pick up volume 1 and check it out. It kind of starts out appearing to have like a sort of medieval fantasy setting. Not like European medieval, but, you know, Japanese medieval, if that makes sense. But, you know, you find out within, I think it's the first chapter, that actually this takes place in present day, and this is actually just a very isolated village. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, basically the main character ends up awakening these 2 ancient godlike beings who now have to do his bidding, and it ends up being this kind of road trip story, and there's a good bit of like fish out of water comedy where the 2 like godlike characters don't know anything about the modern world and are kind of trying to get by and like keep clashing with the main characters because of that. Anyway, I mean, I think if you had the slightest enjoyment out of Full Metal Alchemist, then you owe it to yourself to try this new series out. If it turns out to kind of crash and burn at some point, then, you know, it's like, oh well, she has already more than proved herself with Full Metal Alchemist, but there's that chance maybe this one is going to turn out to be another masterpiece, and that is exactly why I'm reading it. Volume 1 is really good so far, so I would highly recommend getting into that one. Alright, only a few more things left so far in the year. After this I read Magical Girl Incident Volume 1. This one was just kind of an impulse read for me. I knew nothing about it beforehand. I just kind of saw the title and saw the cover and I thought, this looks interesting, and the premise sounded funny too, so I gave that a shot. Read Volume 1, and I do like it so far. The basic premise of that one is that it's about just a regular old office drone type of guy, a low-level office employee, and one day when he sees somebody in need of rescue on his way home from work, he tries to step in and help, and wouldn't you know it, he transforms into a magical girl and gets powers to help others. For Volume 1 so far, I'd say it's like pretty good, you know, it's probably in the 7 or 8 out of 10 range. I'm willing to read more, but there's still time for it to turn south and get dropped. We'll see how it is in the next few volumes. Now, there was kind of a subplot/gag within the first volume, where the main character's co-worker somehow misunderstands what's going on with him and thinks that, not that he's transforming into a magical girl, but that he secretly has a girlfriend that he's trying to hide from his co-workers. And this subplot evaporates almost immediately, but I was kind of hoping for it to become more elaborate and more involved and like lead to more misunderstandings. Like, I don't know, maybe at some point this coworker goes over to the guy's house and then the main character has to like pretend to be both himself and his like girlfriend who secretly actually is himself. I kind of thought it would get into like a more involved like sitcom-y comedy premise like that, but that doesn't really happen. Anyway, that is just a little something that I am tentatively looking forward to. And there you have all of the series I have begun reading in 2023. Stay tuned for many more manga recommendations. I'm going to display the names of any patrons I still have remaining on screen. Special thanks to Jovian Archiver, who subscribed at a higher tier recently. And then we're gonna cut to Charlie, who's going to tell you his favorite manga that he started in 2023. Take it away, Charlie.